Does a channel strip in your DAW really make a difference in the sound of your voiceover recording? Yes, absolutely, and I'm going to show you how I create a custom-tuned processing chain for a client to get a crisp, powerful, professional sound. Well, his name is Patrick. He's working out of Reading, Pennsylvania. He's at the intermediate skill level, and he's using a modified MXL 2003. Now, I've never worked with any MXL microphones, and I'm starting to see more and more because I think they're rather popular among voiceover artists. And Patrick tells me he's got upgraded capacitors in his own microphone. He must have done a little work under the hood or had it modified. So what we're going to do first is take a listen to the unprocessed audio, and I'll show you what I'm hearing and kind of the angle I want to take and some of the things that I want to fix as I create his custom preset. We've got a VU meters here. Now, these aren't peak meters, they're VU meters, so I'm shooting for the 0. And after I create the processing channel, my goal would be to have the levels exactly the same. So what's going in is the same level coming out. All right, let's listen to the raw audio without any processing with Patrick on his MXL 2003 microphone. By the way, he's recording into a Behringer UMC 404 HD audio interface, and he's tracking in Studio One Professional 5. All right, let's hear the raw audio and what it sounds like before we work on it with a custom processing chain.
This isn't something that can be cured, David. I couldn't believe what the doctor was saying. I have 4 young children. How do I break the news to them?
When I listen to the raw audio, I'm listening for the highs, how do they sound, how are they separated from the mids and the lows, what's the overall room sound like, and kind of what work needs to be done. So I want to listen to it one more time and kind of now focus on some of those sections of what needs to be worked on. Or I like to separate the frequency spaces and hear them individually and then see how I'm going to break it down and work on them. Let's listen one more time.
This isn't something that can be cured, David. I couldn't believe what the doctor was saying. I have 4 young children. How do I break the news to them? Will I get to see my kids grow up? Should I start writing my will?
Sounds like maybe a part of an audiobook or something you must be working on. So I think we could probably widen the frequency space by extending the bass a little bit. I'd like to raise the high frequencies just a touch. And then also I think there's some clarity work that could be done in the mid and the low. It's usually kind of cloudy in this range right here. So I'm going to work on those with just the EQ first. So I've gone through and created a setting for the EQ specifically first. And so what does this sound like? What's the difference for his voice? Well, I'll show you. If you're looking to improve your voice sound, you could find voiceover tips and techniques and training like how to use an EQ like this on my website, lennyb.com. All right, here's what the preset sounds like. Let's listen. I'll play it before the EQ and then have it run through maybe halfway after with EQ and concentrate on this mid to mid-low frequency area and how it clears it up a little bit. Here we go.
This isn't something that can be cured, David. I couldn't believe what the doctor was saying.
EQ.
I have 4 young children. How do I break the news to them?
Without.
Will I get to see my kids grow up? Should I start writing my will?
Now, this portion of the channel strip that I'm creating for him is just working on that mid-range clarity. At this point, you can't really notice too much of a difference, but it's there. And what happens is when you put a channel strip together, which is usually gating and EQ and compression in a particular order, all these changes stack up. So it sounds like just a little bit of a difference. And I'm going to play it before and after one more time so you could listen carefully for it. But it, once you put compression on this, once you do some of the other processing that we're going to do in this chain, these will be even more apparent and it really will stand out. And we'll do a before and after once we complete the chain as well. I'll show you that too. So let's do it one more time before the EQ, and then I'll switch it in after.
This isn't something that can be cured, David. I couldn't believe what the doctor was saying. I have 4 young children. How do I break the news to them? Will I get to see my kids grow up? Should I start writing my will?
All right, I like the progress we've made here. It's unless you have earphones on or unless you're listening in a really quiet environment, you may not be able to hear much of a difference, but it's there and it'll become apparent later on. I'm also not going to get rid of the low material because this is a full channel strip that I'm making for him. And the low end stuff underneath his voice, the noise in his room, It's best to only do that once, and I'm going to do it in the next plugin, which is a multi-effects plugin. I'll show you. It's called the Shep's Omni Channel, and I really like this for his voice. It's a Waves plugin, and I've just decided that I think the saturation and the gate and the compression on this particular multi-effects plugin with the EQ that I've put together, this is what I'm choosing to build for him, and I just really like the outcome. So we've got a preamp, which is adding a little bit of saturation, and it's just very important to thicken up the sound. We've added an expander, which is kind of a lighter version of a gate. So it's really transparent. You really don't notice it, but it works quite well on his voice, taking out just any of the excess breaths or noise in the room or his hand movement on the script or whatever it's doing. It just puts absolute silence between his sound, but doesn't cut off the beginning or the end of any words or anything. I'm not using a de-esser for this. I'm not going to use it. I don't think it needs it. Wait, let me back up here. On the preamp, I'm cutting off frequencies below 65. Now I'm doing it here and not on the EQ because I only want to do it once, and I like the way this one sounds for his voice. Continuing on the EQ, I've got a little resonance peak here, and I'm raising the high frequencies at 8,000 hertz and above. And then I've got a little boost in the bass, just a slight. I mean, these are really small changes. 1.4 decibel boost in the bass at 51. So this is just really the low end. This is helping expand the frequency range to widen the range of his voice, and the same up here as well. And this is, how much are we up here? 4 decibels. So that's quite big. I may back that off. Now, all this processing, all these pieces here. So really we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got 6 things going on, and that builds a real processing chain. And then I'm going to look and compare the input and the output to make sure it's the same volume going in and out. So when he turns it on, it's just changing the sound and not the volume. Sometimes an increase in volume could give you the perception that it just sounds better, but it's just louder. And that's a common thing. All right, let's listen with just the EQ and without the rest of this processing chain, and see if you can hear the difference. I think you can. I think it sounds really good. I love his delivery and his voice. It sounds great. It's recorded well, and processing a voice like this is a pleasure because it just makes it sound that much better. All right, here we go.
This isn't something that can be cured, David. I couldn't believe what the doctor was saying. I have 4 young children. How do I break the news to them? Will I get to see my kids grow up? Should I start writing my will?
To me, that has a nice thick sound to it. It's more upfront, and it's just a nice, big, bold, professional sound for his voice. With his MXL microphone in his room on his voice, and this particular custom channel strip setting that I've made for him, I think he's in good shape. Let's listen one more time without everything. I'm going to take the original EQ off, and you can hear the difference now. First, we'll listen without anything, and then I'll toggle on and off both of these plugins, which is all the processing together, so you can hear the difference.
This isn't something that can be cured, David. I couldn't believe what the doctor was saying. I have 4 young children. How do I break the news to them? Will I get to see my kids grow up? Should I start writing my will? This isn't something that can be cured, David.
If you like what you're seeing and you learned something, subscribe to the channel. I've got more voiceover videos like this coming all the time. And leave your comments and questions. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the processing and the sound of what I've done here. The website is lennyb.com for more voiceover tips and training, and also information about my custom preset service that I offer to select clients. Your voiceover sound should be inspiring you to create more. You should love your sound. Let's make your voice sound better.